Hey guys, what's up? It's Emily. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about Kindle. I've been back into reading as an adult for over 2 years now, I would say. And I only really recently started actively using my Kindle. I have a very old Kindle. I don't even know what model this is. I've had it for the longest time, but I've really recently been back into using it on a more frequent basis. There's a few reasons for that. One is I'm just running out of space for books in my apartment unless I'm in love with a book or a series and it's something that has been on my radar for a really long time, or if it's a book that I maybe read on my Kindle and fell in love with and needed the physical copy of because I loved it so much. That's kind of where I'm heading in terms of buying books. Books are also getting expensive. It is costly to just keep buying books. I have a book of the month subscription, so I get at least one new hardcover book a month. There are some books that I buy that I read and I'm just so not connected to them, and there's other books that have just been sitting on my physical TBR cart for so long that I just don't have any interest or inclination to pick up. It's why spend the money on those books when maybe I'll, get it on my Kindle and give it a try rather than buy it and then not read it and just have it take up space. The most important reason I'm trying to use my Kindle more is because of the environment. I made a video looking at all the books on my physical TBR last year, so the books have changed, but I do have a lot of statistics on the negative contributions to the environment that excessive book buying does, and I do think people go to the bookstore and just mindlessly buy books, myself included. I've done that, and I think that's where the real waste comes in. It's if you really love a book, you want a physical copy of the book, do that. If it's gonna be on your bookshelf and it's gonna be loved and it's gonna be read, buy the book, But I do think that mindless buying of physical books that are probably gonna end up being given away and not read, that's where the problem comes in. There's a variety of different reasons why I've started using my Kindle. The reason I was so hesitant to use it is because I am a romantic. I do love having physical copies of books. I love smelling the pages. I love doing all of that. So it took me a while to kind of be okay with using the Kindle. It's been, in terms of usage, better than I thought. I don't need my reading light when I read. I can just throw this in my bag. It's very light and not bulky. I don't know. I feel I read faster on it because I make the words bigger. Needless to say, I am really getting into my Kindle. I do not have Kindle Unlimited as of this specific moment. I've been doing my research and looking into getting it. It could be very financially beneficial for me. It is $12 a month and you can borrow up to 20 books a month on it. It's on par with Libby, which is another way I read books on my Kindle. I have a library card and I borrow a book for 2 weeks and I get it downloaded on my Kindle and then I return it via the Libby app. What's been really annoying about Libby though, and for those of you that have used Libby know this, the wait times are so long for books, especially if they're big books, big titles, so that can get a little annoying. I've been more into buying $3 books on my Kindle. I bought Pumpkin Spice Cafe and Phantasma recently. They were both $3. Those are two pretty popular books this season. I wanted to do a little more research into the books that are on Kindle Unlimited specifically. So this is, you pay $12 and then you get access to all of the books on Kindle Unlimited. So first I wanted to give my recommendations on books that I've read that I see are on Kindle Unlimited, and then I wanted to kind of share my Kindle Unlimited TBR with you guys because there's a lot of specifically series that I've been wanting to read for a long time that I think would be good winter reads because they're more like romance series and light, some Elsie Silver series, stuff like that. I think would be good for the winter, so I think I might get Kindle Unlimited. Let's just get into my personal recs for books that I've already read on Kindle Unlimited, and then we'll get into my Kindle Unlimited TBR. The first book, some of these I have physical copies of, but I just cannot go get them. The first book I have is Fourth Wing. So this was a really, really big book last year. I think there's gonna be 3 books total. I think the third book is coming out early next year or something. Iron Flame is the sequel, but Fourth Wing is the first book. It's about this girl, Violet. She's going into school. It's kind of like this military school. You either study to be a scribe, which is people that study history, and there's the healers, and there's the riders who are the dragon riders, rider. So we're essentially like soldiers. Violet's mother is like the head general dragon rider. Like she's really intense. Her sister's also a dragon rider, but she was always going to go to school to be a scribe until like the first day of school. Her mom's like, you need to be a rider. And like, it's very risky being a rider. You can die the first day that you go to school. Like every day is basically like risking your life. There's a lot of world building, a lot of like politics, war, etc. The next book is The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is like one of my all-time favorite books. This is the first book I read in like a day or two. Has a wonderful plot twist. Great book for like spooky season, even November. It's about this woman who is in this like mental hospital and she hasn't spoken since, I believe, she was convicted of killing her husband. And so there's this psychologist that's like, I'm gonna be the one to get her to talk. It's really good. Next is my favorite Colleen Hoover book, Reminders of Him. I also saw that they are making this into a movie and I immediately texted my agent and I was like, I know this is such a long shot, but can you please keep your eyes peeled for this, because I love this character so much. The main character's name is Kenna, and I've said multiple times on this channel, like, I want to play this part so badly. So he's like, yeah, like, I'll keep my eye out for it, so we'll see. But it's about this girl, Kenna, this young woman who has just been released from a 5-year sentence in prison. She has a daughter that she is trying to kind of reconnect with, who is like 4 or 5 years old, and I guess get custody of. It's so emotional. I wept like a baby when I read this book. Next is American Dirt. This is a harrowing book that I think everybody should absolutely read. It's about this young mother and her son's journey escaping the cartel and trying to make it to America after their entire family is murdered. Their journey is just so harrowing. And it's a really hard book to read. I do think that like everybody, especially white Americans, should read this book. Next is The Perfect Marriage. I actually did read The Perfect Marriage on my Kindle. Like, it was one of the first books I read on my Kindle maybe like 2 years ago. It was about this woman whose husband was accused of killing his mistress. That's kind of it. This woman kind of finds herself becoming her husband's like main line of defense in this. So it's definitely interesting, and it's a pretty quick read. It's one of those quick mysteries. Next is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. This is a wonderful self-help book to just kind of like, especially today with kind of all of these external forces and stimuli being thrown at us. I think this book really helped in easy terms to understand, get in touch with like what is actually important and like where should you care and where should you not care. I just think it's so important because I think in our world today, like we really look at ourselves a lot. I think it's great to look at yourself and like work on yourself, but I think today like we're just constantly judging ourselves in a very superficial way, and I think that like this book really helps you kind of get in touch with like why that is. And this is a great book for like overthinkers, people with like social anxiety. Basically, like once you accept that like you're just mediocre and that's okay, like that's when you can really start enjoying your life. And that's hard for me because I want to be the best at everything I do. Maybe I should reread this one. Next, which I was very surprised to learn, is the whole Harry Potter series is on Kindle Unlimited. I mentioned this in my like fantasy guide video. I grew up reading and watching the Harry Potter movies. They were such a huge part of my childhood, but I realized that like a lot of, you know, teenagers and young adults now, that's not necessarily the case because like they're already out. Like I remember like going to like premieres of both books and movies. If you're like a teenager or if you're in your early 20s and you've never read Harry Potter, I highly recommend it, and it is on Kindle Unlimited. So even if you just want to get Kindle Unlimited to read the Harry Potter series, it would be like well worth your money to do so. The next book is The Woman in the Window. I love this book. I flew by this book. After I read it, I watched the movie and it was not as good as the book. It had great actors in it like Gary Oldman, who has the same birthday as me, and Amy Adams, who I love both of them. The movie just like did not work for me personally. It's about this woman who is kind of an unreliable narrator because she has a drinking problem, and she's a recluse, and she sees something in her apartment complex, like in one of the other apartments, like across the like corridor courtyard or something. She thinks she sees something that she shouldn't have seen, and then it's like, did she really see it? Like, who's in danger? Like, what's actually happening? It is so good and like so satisfying and sad. Another one that's on Kindle Unlimited is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is a huge book by V.E. Schwab. It's about this young woman, Addie LaRue. Well, she's not young. She's hundreds of years old. She was born in like the 1600s, and she basically makes this deal with the devil to be immortal and young forever. In return, the price that she pays is that people don't remember her. So she'll have a conversation with somebody, walk away, come back, and they don't remember who she is. It's a very lonely, long life, and it takes place like alternating time periods, and like you're in America, you're in France, you're in Italy, you're just like all over the place. The inciting incident, I guess I would say, of the book is that someone finally remembers her, and she's like, why is this happening? The Letters of Enchantment duology is also on Kindle Unlimited. I read these books. I really liked the first one. The second one was like, I didn't need it personally. They were a very popular duology last year. This is Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. I'm really doing the upspeak. This is about this young woman. I think her name is Iris. It's really hard to remember all of these people's names, to be honest. Yes, Iris Widow. Got it. Her brother, I think, voluntarily enlisted in this war. He might have been drafted. I don't remember. And she works at like the local newspaper, and you know, her dream is to like be on the front lines of the war and like go out there and like really cover it. She wants this promotion at her job. The other guy, Kit, who works there Roman Kit is his full name. The other guy that's, you know, also eligible for the promotion, he's obviously not as good at the job, but is a Nepo baby and comes from a very like wealthy, influential family. There's like that dynamic. Whilst that is happening, she is like writing love letters to some mysterious person through her wardrobe. So she'll like write a letter and then send it and then get one back. She doesn't know who she's writing to. So that's kind of, that's that. And like the second one gets more into the war, and there's like gods involved and stuff like that. So it's interesting and it's timely. Those are kind of like my recommendations based on the books that I have seen, that I've read on Kindle Unlimited. Now I'm gonna go into my TBR. The first one is the Housemaid trilogy by Frida McFadden. I mean, I've seen these all over the place. I've been meaning to read them for a long time. I hear really great things about them. It's a trilogy. Anyone who loves The Woman in the Window, The Wife Between Us, and The Girl on the Train won't want to put this down. And I love all of them. I actually didn't read The Girl on the Train, but I saw that movie. It's like this maid who works for this family, and it seems like she has some sort of secret, I would say. I also want to read The Boyfriend, which is the new Frida McFadden book, which has been really popular like this month specifically. I'll read the description here. She's looking for the perfect man. He's looking for the perfect victim. Sydney Shaw, like every single woman in New York, has terrible luck with dating. She's seen men who lie in their dating profile, men who stick her with the dinner bill, and worst of all, men who can't shut up about their mothers. But finally, she hits the jackpot. Her new boyfriend is utterly perfect. He's charming, handsome, and works as a doctor at a local hospital. She's swept off her feet. Then the brutal murder of a young woman, the latest in a string of deaths across the coast, confounds the police. The primary suspect, a mystery man who dates his victims before he kills them. Fun. Sydney should feel safe. After all, she's dating the guy of her dreams, but she can't shake her own suspicions that the perfect man may not be as perfect as he seems, because someone is watching her every move, and if she doesn't get to the truth, she'll be the killer's next victim. That might be a fun like November read. Another one which I'm actually currently reading, I just bought it for $3, is, as I mentioned, is Phantasma. It's kind of like a dark academia, like witchy version, like Halloween spooky version of Caraval. I didn't love Caraval, but I also listened to it, and I'm not sure if that affected my experience with it, but I am reading Phantasma. I'm on page like 75 or something like that. I'm enjoying it. It's going. We're doing it. It's happening. I'll let you guys know what I think. But it is a big book, specifically this October, this spooky season as well. I also want to read A Man Called Ove. I haven't read any Friedrich Bachman. I haven't read any of his books. I have Beartown, which I do want to read, but I hear that this is a very snug book. A grumpy yet lovable man finds his solitary world turned on its head when a boisterous young family moves in next door. Meet Ove. He's a curmudgeon, the kind of man who points at people he dislikes as if they were burglars caught outside his bedroom. He has staunch principles, strict routines, and a short fuse. People call him the bitter neighbor from hell. Must Ove be bitter just because he doesn't walk around with a smile plastered on his face all the time? Behind the cranky exterior, there is a story and a sadness. So when one November morning, a chatty young couple with two chatty young daughters move in next door and accidentally flatten Ove's mailbox, it is the lead-in to a comical and heartwarming tale of unkempt cats, unexpected friendship, and the ancient art of backing up a U-Haul. It's all of which will change one cranky old man and a local residents association to their very foundation. Next is Layla. That's another Colleen Hoover book. I've read most of her books. This is just one that has been on my list for a very long time. I think it's more of like a mystery thriller. Like people say it's more like Verity than the rest of her books, because Verity is like kind of an outlier for her. She usually writes more like character driven, like family stuff. When Leeds meets Layla, he's convinced he'll spend the rest of his life with her until an unexpected attack leaves Layla fighting for her life. After weeks in the hospital, she recovers physically, but the emotional and mental scarring has altered the woman Leeds fell in love with. In order to put the relationship back on track, Leeds whisks Layla away to the bed and breakfast where they first met. Once they arrive, Layla's behavior takes a bizarre turn, and that's just one of the many inexplicable occurrences. Feeling distant from Layla, Leeds soon finds solace in Willow, another guest at the bed and breakfast with whom he forms a connection through their shared concerns. As his curiosity for Willow grows, his decision to help her find answers puts him in direct conflict with Layla's well-being. Leeds soon realizes he has to make a choice because he can't help both of them. But if he makes the wrong choice, it could be detrimental for all of them. I mean, that sounds interesting, I guess. It doesn't have like the high, it has a 3.64 average on Goodreads, but I've literally had my eyes on this book for like 2 years, and I do want to read it. Next is the Twisted series, which is actually included not only in Kindle Unlimited, but in just Amazon Prime. So I could technically read all of these for free right now. This is one of those series I was talking about. Like I want to like tackle a few non-fantasy series, I think, that have just been on my list for a really long time. There's Twisted Love, Twisted Games, Twisted Hate, Twisted Lies. It's the Twisted series. Alex Volkov is a devil blessed with the face of an angel and cursed with a past he can't escape. Driven by a tragedy that has haunted him for most of his life, his ruthless pursuits for success and vengeance leave little room for matters of the heart. But when he's forced to look at his best friend's sister, he starts to feel something in his chest, a crack, a melt. These have pretty high, all above 4-star average on Goodreads. I see them everywhere. It's time. I feel like I have this like debt of a few series that I need to like catch up on since I started kind of getting into reading again that I just haven't, and they all are kind of romance series. I just want to read them because I feel like so many people have read them and love them. And the next is the Things We Never Got Over trilogy. This one I hear like so many mixed things on, but I do just want to read it for myself and like find out. Bearded bad boy Barber Knox prefers to live his life the way he takes his coffee, alone. Unless you don't count his basset hound, Waylon. Knox doesn't tolerate drama even when it comes to the form of a standard runaway bride. Naomi wasn't just running from her wedding, she was riding to the rescue of her estranged twin to Virginia, a rough around the edges town where disputes are settled the old-fashioned way with fists and beer, usually in that order. Too bad for Naomi, her evil twin hasn't changed at all. After helping herself to Naomi's car and cash, Tina leaves her with something unexpected. The niece Naomi didn't know she had. Now she's stuck in town with no car, no job, no plan, and no home with an 11-year-old going on 30 to take care of. This actually sounds really interesting and something that I would enjoy. There's a reason Knox doesn't do complications or high maintenance women, especially not the romantic ones. But since Naomi's life imploded right in front of him, the least he can do is help her out of her jam. And just as soon as she stops getting into new trouble, he can leave her alone and get back to his peaceful, solitary life. At least that's the plan until the trouble turns to real danger. Also, all 3 of the Crowns of Nyasia series, trilogy, they're all on Kindle Unlimited as well. These, I mean, I've also seen everywhere and have been wanting to read for a really long time. This is actually a fantasy series though. So the first one is The Serpent and the Wings of the Night. The adopted human daughter of the Nightborn vampire king, Oriya, carved her place in a world designed to kill her. Her only chance to become something more than prey is entering the Kajari, a legendary tournament held by the goddess of death herself. This sounds like a lot of fantasy books I've read. But winning won't be easy. Amongst the most vicious warriors from all 3 vampire houses to survive, Oriya is forced to make an alliance with a mysterious rival. Everything about Rain is dangerous. He is a ruthless vampire, an efficient killer, an enemy to her father's crown, and her greatest competition. Yet what terrifies her most of all is that she finds herself oddly drawn to him. What a surprise. There's no room for compassion in the Kajari, War of the House of Night Brews, and Rain may understand her more than anyone, but their blossoming attraction could be her downfall in a kingdom where nothing is more deadly than love. That's fun. I feel like this is more of like a February, March read. Maybe January, I'm not sure. Another series I've been wanting to read for a long time is the Addicted series. It looks like there are quite a few books. There's 10 books in this series, so this one would take a while. I'm not going to read to you out loud what the series is about because it's slightly like explicit, but feel free to like check it out. One of those romance series that I like haven't gotten into. There's something about like having romance be a series that like for some reason at first was like kind of off-putting to me, but I feel like since I've gotten into a few now, I'm like, oh, I actually kind of enjoy this vibe. Next is the Chestnut Spring series. I read my first two Elsie Silver books, Wild Love and Wild Eyes, and I love Wild Eyes specifically so much, so I thought I'd give Elsie Silver more of a chance, and a lot of people recommend the Chestnut Spring series. I do think that the Rose Hill series with Wild Love and Wild Eyes tend to be the favored out of all three of them because she has three series that are all kind of like interconnected but also standalone. This is a sports romance, so it looks like this is an enemies to lovers trope. The rules were simple. Keep my hands off his daughter and stay out of trouble. Okay, this is a summary in the first person. But now I'm stuck with her. There's only one bed, and well, rules are made to be broken. I'm the face of professional bull riding. The golden boy, or at least I was, until it all blew up in my face. Now my agent says I have to clean up my image, so I'm stuck with his daughter for the rest of the season. It's my full-time supervision. But I don't need a babysitter, especially one with skin-tight jeans and a mouth she can't stop running. A mouth I can't stop thinking about. I'll give it a try and I'll let you know how it is. Another one is the Windy City series. So the first one of this is Mile High. When hockey player and ladies man Evan Zanders boards his team's new plane for the first time, he is treated to the flight crew for the season, which includes Stevie Shea, his sister to basketball star Ryan Shea. That's a quick little summary. Also in Enemies to Lovers, Stevie struggles with body image and being in the shadow of her twin sister who plays professional basketball. I wonder if the whole thing takes place on the plane. That would make me anxious. I don't really like flying. And then the last one is the Dreamland Billionaire series by Lauren Asher. Also have had my eyes on this. Like all of these book covers, like I have just seen everywhere for so long, and I'm so ready to read them and like get in touch with it and get hip to it. The first one is called The Fine Print. It's a contemporary romance that follows Rowan, the youngest of the Kane brothers, as he and Zara Julian embark on a romantic journey from enemies to lovers through their work together in the Dreamland amusement park. He's also a billionaire who needs to renovate Dreamland and become its director. And Zara is a woman who submits a drunk critique of Dreamland's most expensive ride, but is offered a job instead of being fired. Those are the books. Those are the books. Let me know if you guys have Kindle Unlimited and like if there's any other books that you read on there that you're really into. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next week. And I'll give you my October reading wrap up and pick my TBR for November. I cannot believe it's November. I'll see you next week.